So Ryan, you have two primary distinctions. One is you're a founder that sold a company, successfully exited. The other is you didn't raise venture capital to get there. You sold this year to 10th Street. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On that.
Appreciate it.
I think as we think about fraud, you guys in the tracking using mobile devices to help brokers track freight, obviously have a plan on what that means. And 10th Street managing this massive database of driver intelligence and information has an opportunity to marry those two up. Talk a little bit about what the strategy is there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So when we started out with TextLocate, it was all about tracking overflow via text and then evolved into the driver communication. We were getting great response. And then now with all the fraud things, we put some things in place that now literally brokers today that use our product won't give out like pickup numbers without verifying through our system because of the risk, obviously, that we've talked about all day. But even to accelerate that with 10th Street, so the acquisitions have been about 90 days. And 10th Street, for a lot of non-asset providers, may not know who they are. I would definitely look them up. They're huge on the asset side. Probably they support a little over 5,000 asset customers out there for all different industries. And then additionally, they process over 90% of the background checks for drivers. So the joint effort that we could not have done, we could not have done without 10th Street is around driver validation and identity. So the idea that we're working on in development now is Craig Fuller, industry expert. We hit Craig's phone number into the system if you were a driver, and we're not necessarily going to give like your birth date and your social security number, but we're going to say, hey, Craig's been in the industry. We're validating that he knows what he's talking about. Same thing with a driver. The driver's applied to X number of jobs. The driver has some activity on 10th Street's Pulse app, which they use. I think it's a couple million drivers use that pretty often. And so there's activities and you're like, is this actually a driver or not? And then we're going to have criteria and with a couple different levels, but the biggest one will be the hard red flag. Hey, we've never seen this person in 10th Street's database, which is very, very rare.
Just real quick, because we have watching that clock. This
that's
is a really quick conversation. 10th Street, effectively, I always thought of it as like my kids applied for college. It's like the single application for all the major truckload carriers. And so if a driver is a part of a truckload carrier, typically larger, take 50 trucks and more kind of
probably
guys that are using that, not the smalls. But if they haven't applied if they are not showing up in the 10th Street database, they're likely not real. Is that a fair conversation?
I'm still learning, but I think yes. Unless it was somebody maybe fresh out or maybe a new hire driver.
They just got hired.
But the odds, it definitely raises.
This.
Tons of awareness.
U.S. Express and Covenant, Amazon, is that the tenure of the driver is directly correlated to the service, the safety, and 100% security. We would not let new drivers take high value loads at U.S. Express because that was where the problems ended up. Is it fair to say that if a driver is not in the database, that it's probably someone that a broker should probably stay away from?
I definitely feel so. It could be that the dispatcher's putting their own phone number in instead of their driver number. So you could have that would change where you get drilled down to the actually driver identity. But yeah, if they're not showing in the system, we're looking to make an alert where it would be like, hey, you can get invited in. And so this is really also about driver identity too. So we think drivers are going to love this because they can protect their identity by having their details in the system so that they don't get spoofed as well.
It's interesting. We've heard RMIS, we've heard Highway, we've talked about carrier identity.
Yeah.
That's only one step of it.
Right.
It's really, ultimately, we're only as good as our driver. So having 100%. That as a combination is just another layer. What I think is exciting about marrying up your business with 10th Street is this vision. You understand brokerage. It's not something that they have historically been in.
Right.
Is this vision to sort of get to actually solve the problem. What's I think is encouraging what I've heard all day is there are solutions to solve this. This is an industry that's going to do it. And I think this is just one more thing.
Oh, I think so. I think it's going to be very exciting. I think 10th Street's the only person or the only company out there that has
90% of the data.
Yeah, and growing.
So
and just acquired the second largest driver reach.
Okay.
So
that's driver recruiting, is that right?
It was driver applicant tracking and recruiting stuff too.
So real quick, one message for anyone out here about best practices. What should they do? And you can't talk about 10th Street.
Without 10th Street. Well, number one is get driver details. We hear it all the time because you may get through the carrier side of the business and pass it, but you need to know who those drivers are because we hear it too often. that it'll be a carrier that's set up that will actually use their brokerage division, and then they'll book a load somewhere else. So a lot of times that driver doesn't even know who they're hauling the freight for or where it needs to go.
So knowing the carrier,
redirect it.
Knowing the carrier is not far enough. You have to get.
No, I think you got to go all the way to the driver. And what we have seen is those that get the driver phone numbers and ask those questions. And if you just sense something, then pause. You know, if you don't feel like you're getting the right information, drilling down to the driver level detail. Because most drivers want to do the right thing. They want to do a good job. They want to deliver. They want to be there on time. And if you don't get that driver level data, I think you're missing a key component for fraud and obviously for service and support.
Ryan, you and I could talk about this all day. Unfortunately, we don't.
Would love to. And I'm here all day.
We're keeping everybody from lunch. So
yeah,
that lunch is upstairs at 4th floor.